Whether you have a diagnosis or not, I don't care. I'll teach you how to find what's causing your health concerns using the labs you already have. Your doctor might tell you your blood work is normal, but I'm here to teach you a better way. If you're a doctor or a health coach and anything in between, there's one for you too. Download your cheat guides and register here at drkylieburton.com. This podcast is sponsored by Systemic Formulas and Nutribiome. Systemic Formulas, the supplement company I trust with my patients and family. Instead of ordering from a handful of companies, I use 95% SF products. They're top-of-the-line quality with the best lab west of the Mississippi. They're pure, potent, and they get results. In fact, I recommend you follow their Instagram at Systemic Formulas Institute. Also, the man who's behind the Systemic Formulas products, Dr. Shane Morris, is launching a new line of supplements designed to take your microbiome to the next level. He has specific prebiotics designed to feed the probiotics. Learn more and order soon at mybiome.com. All right, let's jump into the episode. Welcome to the Beyond the Diagnosis podcast with me, Dr. Kylie. We have a special guest today, like all my guests, because I only bring you the best. This is Tim James. He's also known as the Health Hero, and he hosts the Health Hero Show. So today's topic is going to be 1, gut, and 2, toxins. And he's going to walk us through things that are complex and make them so super easy. And I can't wait to hear his description of these things and what recommendations he has for you. But be sure to check out his website at chemicalfreebody.com, where there is a free gift. So, Tim, welcome on.
Kylie, thanks for having me on your show today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, walk us back through a little bit of your story first.
Well, I grew up over in Eastern Oregon on a cattle and hay farm. So we were raising Hereford cattle and
Eastern Oregon, where at?
LeGrand.
Okay.
You know where that's at?
I went to Portland for school.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It used to be NCNM. No, wait. No, you went to the chiropractic school.
I went to Western States.
Yeah. Western States Chiropractic.
Yeah.
I actually hosted Dr. Brian Clement and his wife, Dr. Anna Maria Clement, who run the Hippocrates Health Institute, which I'll get into. We hosted an event at Western States for them.
Don't mention my name. They don't like me there.
You're the rebel there.
I was the one that got suspended. Yes.
Okay. I won't say nothing. So anyway, yeah. So I grew up pretty much, redneck, but one thing that I learned growing up on a farm was common sense. And, I loved growing up. I was in nature a lot. I put myself through college cutting firewood. I was up in the woods. We were hunting and fishing and picking morel mushrooms in the spring. And we were just out in nature a lot. And we had a huge garden as well growing up, picking raspberries and all kinds of stuff and selling them. And then fast forward, I was an athlete too for 30 years. I played baseball at a high level. So I was really into like
how high
fitness. I played some semi-pro baseball, but I was what's that?
I'm a big baseball fan.
Yeah. I actually took like 4 or 5 years off and then came back. I just couldn't get away from it. So some friends talked me to going back in. I wish I would have known then what I know now about inflammation and recovery. I mean, it was like, I could have like shattered stuff. As far as like I just think I know I could have done so much better. And I'll get into
when
this
you support your body physically, your performance on all levels, whether you're a mom performing to help your kids at school or whether you're performing on a baseball diamond, it's all the same.
Yep. It's all the same. We have a system and it has inputs and outputs and all kinds of cool stuff. So anyway, so let's just fast forward. I'm 37 years old. Now I'm a financial advisor. I gained 42 pounds. I'd had a huge patch of eczema on my left knee. I had eczema on both of my elbows. They were cracking and bleeding. I had another skin issue on my shoulder. No energy, mental clarity issues, fog, sleeping issues. I had stopped exercising, even though I was like the athlete guy in my head. Still, I believed I was, but I wasn't actually doing anything. I'd walk the dogs because they couldn't walk themselves. And then, and then it got worse. Then I had acid reflux really bad. I was eating tons of Rolaids for years, 24/7. And then I started bleeding rectally when I pooped. So that went on for 2.5 years. I went to doctors. They wanted me to go on Prilosec and a bunch of different medications and stuff, but I never took them because it just seemed really foreign and alien to me. I actually picked up prescriptions a couple of times, but I never did it. And I don't know. I saw the side effects and stuff. It scared me. So I was really into nature, but I didn't understand it was my lifestyle and my diet and stress in my life. So it actually got worse. So my wife and I had planned this trip with her dad. Her dad was an MD down in Peru, and he ran a huge clinic down there, one of the largest hospitals in Lima, Peru. And it was he'd never taken a vacation before. This guy was like a freaking workaholic. And first vacation in 30 years, we fly down there. We go to northern Peru, a place called Tumbes, just south of Ecuador. And a few days into it, we're deep sea fishing, chartered a boat, and then all of a sudden I'm getting sick. I'm sweating, and they're thinking, oh, he's got motion sickness. I've been out on these boats before. I've never gotten motion sickness before. We came back. It kept getting worse and worse. It wasn't the motion sickness. And he's like, oh, we need to get you to a hospital. And I missed the plane flight out of there by 30 minutes. There's only one plane flight a day. So they rented a van and drove me 6 hours through the middle of the night on this bumpy ass road down the coastline to a town called Piora. And I'm here to tell you, it was the most miserable experience of my life. Every single bump was painful. Like, I was bent over. I couldn't even walk. I was bent over at a 90-degree angle. I had so much pain in my stomach. I couldn't stand up erect at all. And every bump, bumpity bump, 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 bump. 6 hours of this. I was sweating bullets. I was completely exhausted. They put me on an examination table in a third world country, and I got bugs flying around in the light above me. And I'm thinking, oh, this isn't good. Like, I've paid into health insurance my whole life and I can't even use it. I was not happy about that. And he didn't want them to operate on me in that hospital. He wanted more of the state of the art, his surgeons and stuff. So he had them dope me up. They put me on a commercial plane flight. You're not supposed to do this. And then flew me to Lima. And I went off the taxi cab right into the gurney and into surgery. And I spent the rest of my vacation recovering. And then my wife ended up pushing me back into the United States in a wheelchair as I was still recovering. But what I learned from that lesson was, number one, getting surgery sucks. I don't ever want to have to do it again. I'm very thankful for the doctors that, patched me up, put me back together, and I could have died. And then the second thing is that my poor health doesn't affect just me. It affects everybody else around me. So I had ruined that vacation for my wife and, myself too. But her dad, I felt so bad. He'd never taken a vacation in 30 years from the hospital. Where does he end up? Back in the friggin' hospital taking care of me. So I felt really terrible about that. But I came back home and I still didn't know what to do. I was reading books, 5 meals a day and high protein, low protein, high fat, high carb, low carb, trying all these different things. Nothing seemed to work. I'd lose a few pounds here and there. Maybe things I'd feel a little bit of energy, but then it would just wane. I was just really frustrated. And then my friend Charles got diagnosed with chronic lymphocytic leukemia, this supposedly incurable blood cancer. And he said, hey, I don't want to die. I want to see my son Charlie grow up and go to high school. And I want to go to father-son weekend at Oregon State University. We have this whole thing planned out. His son was 14 at the time. Our kids had played together. And my experience was like, with cancer, you get it and you're toast. Like, my grandma died of glioblastoma, brain cancer. My aunt had melanoma, skin cancer. These were horrible, horrible things. The hospice. My mom was an angel taking care of my aunt. It was a tremendous strain on her taking care of my aunt. And, my aunt was like, I loved her so much. Like, she taught me how to make deviled eggs for Thanksgiving, and, all this kind of stuff. And to watch her go through that was horrible. I actually lost another friend of mine on my baseball team, Kalei Mahoy, to stomach cancer. He left 3 little boys behind from ages 6 to 17. And all of us rough, tough baseball players were in the church crying our eyes out and doing a fundraiser because Kalei didn't have any insurance or nothing. So, and we watched him die 80 pounds under his weight. And this guy was very fit. He had a 6-pack abs. I mean, he could have been an underwear model. So it was a horrible experience. So when Charles broke the news that he had cancer, my first thing was I looked over it. Literally, I remember very vividly on his desk, he had a picture of him and his wife and his son. And every year they would go on a special vacation together. And then they put the new picture on the desk of that vacation. And it was always changing. And I thought, wow, next year, Charles won't be in that picture. That was what was going through my mind. So he said, hey, Tim, I gotta live. So I'm going to go to Hippocrates Health Institute in West Palm Beach, Florida. They're this 61-year-old at the time, detox and nutrition clinic. Will you go with me? And I'm going to try to heal naturally. And I said, sure, whatever you need. Had no idea what I was getting into, because you have to understand that I was the redneck. Like, we were hunting and fishing deer and elk and chuckers and pheasants, all that stuff. And if it flies, it dies. It's brown, it's down.
My husband's a big hunter too. And all of my cousins, I mean, my paradise is central Utah, which is redneck town. And in fact, my 100th episode on this podcast is called My Redneck Thanksgiving. And I talk about how we chase down chickens and we do this iron farmer. I get it.
Yeah. Okay.
I love it.
Yeah. So Charles was smart though. He didn't tell me about the no meat deal. Cause they're really into living foods and sprouts and this kind of stuff at this place. And on the plane flight there, he's like, oh yeah, by the way, there's no meat, there's no dairy, there's no salt, there's no sugar, there's nothing cooked over 115 degrees, and there's no vinegar. And I'm like, huh? Like, what do you mean no meat? But I thought in my heart that my friend was dying of cancer. So I didn't say anything. The old redneck in me would have been like, screw you, dude. There's no way I would have set foot in this place if it wasn't for my friend and the situation. Okay. But everything works out for a reason. So I go there. Day one, my acid reflux that had been plaguing me, gone. I went through a few days of detoxification. The first class that I went to was a 3.5-hour lecture called Internal Awareness. And this Dr. Scott Josephson comes out, and this guy's just like freaking jacked. He's built well. He looks great. This is his 50th birthday the day he taught that class, and he looked like he was 40. And that was kind of the theme at this place. The people that have been working there 10 years or more, they looked about 10, 20 years younger than the average population. So I'm like, okay, success leaves clues. But I had a notepad and I'm going around interviewing people and asking questions, because I'm thinking, how could this podunk place in Florida help people with cancer? I'm very skeptical. And we have, all these billions of dollars since Nixon have been spent trying to cure cancer and race for the cure, and all our best minds are at it. Like, how could this place be doing anything? And well, all I know is this doctor got done explaining internal awareness from the time you eat food until the time it exits your body. And I understand now how the processes work and the different juices and all this stuff. And I was like, whoa, this is really cool. Wish they would have taught me this in high school or something, or college. I never learned about this. And you should know that. You should know how your body works, right? But then what he showed was, he said the average person has 6 to 12 pounds of impacted fecal material in the colon. And you need to get it out. So he looked at me, he said, hey, Tim, you got 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag. And if you ever want to be healthy, truly healthy, you got to clean that stuff out. Now, that was all great. I'm like, okay, well, that's good. But then he was trying to sell us on a colonic or colon hydrotherapy session. Are you familiar with that?
Mm-hmm. I actually had a guest who does that on this last season. Okay. Lori does hydrocolon therapy, where they stick the hose up your butt and in the water tube. And
yeah. So now I'm like, hey, I elbowed Charles and said, look, dude, like, and let me just clear up. If there is anybody listening that's new to the podcast or didn't hear that one, you're basically sitting on a tube rectally, and water gently goes in and out of your colon for an hour. It's no big deal. And they clean your colon out. So, but I elbowed Charles and I said, look, dude, I came here to help you with your cancer, but I am not doing that deal. It's not happening. Well, but this doctor was very smart. Then he broke out virtual colonoscopies of 4 people. The first one was a lady who was like 24, 25, and she had Hashimoto's, this thyroid issue, and thrush, which is a yeast infection. And inside of her colon was like white and yellow and nasty. She was thrushed up. Okay. She had a lot of yeast in there. And then I was like, oh, that's terrible. Then they showed a 65-year-old male with prostate cancer and parasites. And it was just like black and dark brown, nasty. And then worms crawling around, like white worms. And he turns around and he said, now look, over 50% of you have parasites. This whole thing about parasites being in a third world country is completely off base. And in the bigger cities, like in New York and stuff, where people are closer to touching more people, it goes up. It's easily over 50%. And he said these little, and it's not just the hookworms, the pinworms, and the tapeworms that you can see visually. He said there's microscopic parasites, and all of them are eating your food, drinking your drink, and they're urinating and defecating inside of you and creating more acid. And they're building up this biofilm and it's housing heavy metals as a protection. He goes into all this stuff. And
are you familiar with Cellcore?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Dr. Jason Dean. I had him on my show. He promotes them. But
there's a lot of people that are in that work.
Their Paracleanse. I just took Paracleanse 1 and Paracleanse 2 this morning. So I've tried different parasite cleanses throughout the years. I'm just on theirs right now. But anyway, so I'm I was talking about the colon hydrotherapy, I believe. So I go in there. The virtual colonoscopies. Yeah. So so then the parasites. So this guy's got parasites. So then I'm like freaked out, thinking, oh my God, like I could have parasites, right? So and I could see them. Like so, it wasn't like it literally as a picture is worth 60,000 words. Then they went to like a 45-year-old female with breast cancer, and like her gut was jacked up. She had like colitis or Crohn's or something, and inside of her colon was like nasty, and then they went to somebody who had been on the Hippocrates lifestyle for quite some time, and they did a virtual colonoscopy on their colon. You could see the healthy intestinal lining, the red blood, the vessels and stuff in there. There was waste matter in there, but the difference is the terrain was completely different. It was a different terrain. It looked completely different. And that's when it just clicked for me that this is an inside job, right? And I'm like, oh, this is like a tractor, right? If the tractor's not running well, or your truck's not running well, you have this check engine light on. You don't just keep driving it, because it's going to do two things. It's going to leave you stranded and then you're screwed, or you put it off. And then when you do get it into the mechanic, then you're going to have a huge repair bill. But that's what we're doing with our bodies, because we can't see it. We take good care of our hair. Ladies, we fix our hair, we do all our stuff, makeup. Guys, we cologne, we brush our hair and get our little fade going and all that stuff, put on our suit and tie. But what are we doing to the inside? You can't see it. So it's out of sight, out of mind. Even if you're like OCD, your kitchen's immaculate, 9 times out of 10, if I run my finger across the top of your fridge, there's dust up there. What you can't see will hurt you. So that's what I learned. And I'm like, oh my God. So I jumped up out of my seat and I literally signed up for the class in the middle of the class. He had to tell me to sit down, but I was just like, I'm signing up. And I wasn't going to do it. So the next day I go in, they weigh me. I do the colon hydrotherapy. They weigh me again. I dropped 10 pounds of impacted funk and gunk and junk that was lining my colon. And the record at the Institute at that time was one woman had dropped 27 pounds of impacted fecal material in 1 hour session. Now think about that. That is the size of a medium-sized dog falling out of your butt. That is a lot of just stuff that's tearing down your immune system. So the Royal Society of Medicine says that 85% of all illnesses starts in the colon. And through my work as a health coach and helping, I've personally coached over 600 people through this process, and we have like thousands of clients around the world. I completely concur with those guys. It's an inside job. So that happened. Charles and I, after a few days going through the detox, and let me explain too about that terrain thing. So I had like night sweats. I was irritable for a few days. I had a metallic taste coming out of my tongue as the heavy metals were exiting the body. I didn't have it as bad as some people. Some people had rashes breaking out on their body, some all over their body. Like one lady had 90% stuff happening, but then her psoriasis cleared up, which was awesome. And she'd been plaguing her for years. One lady had a parasite literally crawling out of her eye during lunch, right? So when people hear this, they think it's woo. Oh, I don't believe that. Well, I saw it with my freaking eyes at the lunch table. So what's happening is that the standard American diet and the stressful life and the toxic accumulation in our body has created a very high acid, low oxygen lifestyle. Now, this is the perfect breeding ground. Look it up for viruses, bacteria, mold, yeast, fungus, parasites, and mutagens, these cancers. So all they were doing was, what's the Hippocrates lifestyle? It's living foods, rich in oxygen, phytonutrients, hormones, oxygen, enzymes, all these things. So they put us on the highest oxygen, highest alkaline diet on the planet from the inside out and other things. And what ended up happening was we changed our terrain. And then the viruses, the bacteria, mold, yeast, fungus, parasites, mutagens, they packed their bags and they left. Just like if you dropped a polar bear in West Palm Beach, Florida, it's going to leave. Penguins and polar bears don't live there. They're like, this is not my environment. I'm out of here, right? They would go to somewhere where it's more conducive, for more hospitable for them to live. And that's why all this stuff was exiting the body. They called it a Hertz reaction or detoxing, or they called it surgery without a knife. You're literally changing the terrain from your food and what you drink and all that stuff. And all I can tell you was after about 5 days of this, I woke up and Charles and I did our little morning routine with the wheatgrass shots, and we did our hot cold plunge and the saunas and all that stuff. And we worked out, and I hadn't been working out in years. And I looked at him. I said, dude, do you feel as good as I do? He's like, yeah. I said, we have discovered the fountain of youth. Like literally, like you think the fountain of youth is like some mystical, magical thing on a book or fairy tale. I'm like, no, it is freaking nature. And we have found it, man. This is amazing. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I said, my brain is like super clear. My arms are tingling with energy. And at the time I was 37, I felt like I was 18 again. I said, how do you feel? And he's like, I feel amazing. I said, man, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but you're going to beat this cancer. I was saying, no problem. I'm like, I'm going to go home. I'm going to do this with you. I'm going to commit to help you, because I know it's a big change. But I said, I'm going to give up all meat except for bacon, and I'm going to grow sprouts, and we're going to do all this.
Except for bacon.
Yeah. So we came home and we just went to town and we started growing living foods, juicing. And within 2.5 years, Charles had healed himself of his chronic lymphocytic leukemia with no chemo, no radiation, no surgery, all with attitude, lifestyle choices, and that kind of stuff. And me, in 60 days, all my health issues were gone, except for my knee. That took about 8 months for that huge patch of eczema to go away. And I lost the weight, got my energy back, see my ribs again. I'm 48 now, and I'm healthier now. I'm trail running 4, 5, 6, 7 miles, no problem, multiple times a week. My son wanted me to go surfing with him. My first time I did it, no problem. I can do whatever I want now. My health's amazing. People think I'm on cocaine. I'm high on water. I'm high on life. I'm high on high quality supplements and fresh sprouts and foods. And we just want to share this message with a lot of people and help other people, not live in fear anymore and get to the root of their problems.
Yeah. And I always tell people, especially having that conversation with Lori, who does that colon therapy, if I were to have a brick and mortar practice, that would be a requirement in my practice.
Mm-hmm.
Because that kind of flush, and you can take all the supplements and all the poop things and everything that you want, but to get that kind of flush going from the butt up and then while getting it back out, I mean, she's had some crazy stories of what she's seen.
Oh, I bet.
And especially even with drugs and with addicts, the drug will like sit in the cell lining for years and years and years. And then they go to all the rehab and they just think that they're failing and they're not combating. Their mindset isn't strong enough. But in reality, it's the cells that are still housing these things inside of our colon. So for all you practitioners listening, if you have a brick and mortar practice, pair up with someone who does this hydrocolon therapy or figure it out and get someone trained in it, because it is remarkable what that colon stores. And when you can get it out, it's remarkable on how people feel. And you're a walking testimonial of it.
Yeah. And one thing I would say about colon hydrotherapy is if you go online, there's all these warnings and trying to scare people, like this person that died of it. On episode 38 of my show, I actually interviewed a colon hydrotherapist, Rebecca Harder. She's also known as Gastro Girl. She has like this little superhero thing. She wrote this huge book on it. She 80% doctor, physician referred. She has 2 practices now. And what she said is that she gets to the root of that problem and she explains what really happened. So what happened is that somebody got a virtual colonoscopy and nicked the colon. And then they went in like the next day or 2 and got colon hydrotherapy. So if you get virtual colonoscopies done, then you need to wait at least a week before you would do colon hydrotherapy and let that intestinal lining heal up in case the person that was doing it nicked you, which happens quite often. So it was that combination that caused that problem. It wasn't directly the colon hydrotherapy.
Yeah. And the other piece too is the hydration status. If you go in dehydrated, your body's just going to suck all that water up because it needs it. And that water that's flushing through you is toxic because your body's toxic and it's making it toxic. So I would be one of those. I mean, I drink water and that's like the only thing I drink, but I don't drink enough of it. Which is it's noon here and I've had, 6 ounces of water just because I don't have water sitting on my table right now on my desk. But when it's there, like I always tell people, put water in front of you so you see it. And when you see it, you tend to drink more of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you don't,
water's huge. And then, water today you have to purify your water today. I don't care. I mean, we can probably switch gears into chemicals now if you want. But.
I literally right before you recorded one specifically on water and mold, which was fascinating because her and I were just going back and forth. But yeah, toxins, as we just discussed in the last episode with Therese, you can't avoid them. Mm-mm. So it's just a matter of helping your body eliminate them and then decreasing your toxic load. So I know, Tim, you were saying something about a chemical-free body.com has supplements or what do they find when they go there?
Well, yeah, we have a lot of information, a lot of free information, like on the podcast. I have a group coaching community where people come and ask questions actually it's tonight. I go live every Wednesday at 6
And
p.m.
tonight it's December 8th is tonight. So
Yeah. Every Wednesday. And then once a month I have, it's just a live Q&A. I usually do a topic and then a live Q&A with the people, our health heroes, as we call them. And then once a month, our formulator, Dr. Scott Treadway, comes on. He had a clinical practice for 10 years seeing patients. He actually trained in India under thousands of years of apprenticeship, became a master herbalist in Indian herbology, Western herbology, and Chinese herbologies. And the cool thing is Dr. Treadway is super healthy. I mean, he's in his 70s and his skin looks like he's 35. He's walking the walk. And he just felt that he would be better being a master formulator and help more people that way than seeing one-on-one patients. So that was his journey. And then I usually have a special guest on once a month. I'll have somebody like yourself or a colon hydrotherapist or some type of a practitioner or somebody that's got a great story or a great product will come on and go deep into that. But yeah, we have products and stuff, but I just want to talk about the toxic chemicals. Like and don't take my word for it. Like all you have to do is look up these 3 words when you're done listening to the show, which is umbilical cord chemical. Umbilical cord chemical. And you'll see the studies going back to 2005 that see every time they test the umbilical cord blood of newborn babies and young mothers, supposedly the healthiest of all of us, they're looking for like, let's say 400 chemicals. They find 71%, 250 chemicals of what they were looking for. And 180 cause cancer in humans and 212 cause developmental and brain disorders. That's kind of the average. The scientists and researchers and doctors refer to this as a body burden, a microscopic body burden that's destroying and tearing down your immune system, and you can't see them because they're too small. And not a lot of people are looking for these things. I think that's why we have so much success with the people that come to see us, is because we focus very clearly on this first. This is our mission. Bring awareness, stop putting them in, get them out, and then flood the body with nature. And that's one big takeaway today is have chemical awareness, and then to understand that we don't live in nature. We don't live with nature. We are nature, period. And if you don't believe me, what's your body mostly made of? It's water. Right? And then if you were, cremated, you're made of minerals, phosphorus, calcium, and then if you look at the gut, like the gut microbiome or bacteria in the gut, there's many of those same bacteria that are in the soil, right? Soil bacteria or soil microbiome. So we are nature. And that's the disconnect. We've gotten away from nature. We live in these big box houses and Wi-Fi, and we live on the second level. We're not making contact with the earth, and we have pollutants and carpets off gassing, formaldehyde in the house, and paints off gassing, and the glues and the particle board and all this stuff. And these houses are made airtight now. They're supposedly energy efficient, and your ceiling, it's like they're coffins of death. You're taking 20,000 breaths a day. So we want to make sure that your inputs to your system, we want people to not be a dumb system. We want you to be an aware, intelligent system. And an intelligent system has a goal, and that goal is to be healthy. And that intelligent system has a sensor, so you can sense things, or things are working or not, and then sends messages to your controller, which is you making choices on what your inputs are. We just show people to keep changing their inputs until we get the desired goal. That's it, the output that we want. So these chemicals are a major problem, and there's so many of them. There's a car exhaust and jet fuel and rubber compounds off of tires. Think about it. When you have to buy a new set of tires every once in a while in your car, where'd the rubber go? Well, from friction, microscopic particles came off that tire at high speeds, and it went up in the air, and you breathed it in. It attached to your mucous membrane in the back of your throat, went down into your stomach and into your intestinal lining, and probably into your cells, right? Especially if you had like leaky gut like I did. So these things are a problem, and you just have to have some awareness about it. Two things that I learned real quickly was, if your toothpaste says harmful if swallowed, please contact the Poison Control Center. You might want to rethink putting that in your mouth again, because aren't you poisoning yourself a little bit every time you do? Oh, well, Tim, I'm not swallowing. Well, your body is very poor. I mean, you have a mucous membrane. Like I learned this back in Eastern Oregon. My friend had horses. You ever dealt with DMSO? Well, they put it on horses for their muscles and stuff, or they have injuries. And I dropped a little bit like on my wrist or my finger. And in 30 seconds, I could taste that stuff on my tongue. 30 seconds. It's just like, boom. And I was like, oh my God, I'm just pungent, really strong taste from like one drop of it landing on my skin. So when you put stuff in your mouth or things hit your skin when you're swimming in a chlorine pool, which is really insanity. I don't know what they're thinking to do these kind of things. There's other ways to clean pools, like with ozone. We're basically polluting ourselves. Your shampoo, if it says sodium lauryl sulfate as an ingredient, that's a suffocant to make it foam because we want foamy suds. But guess what? It's a known carcinogen. It causes cancer. So I come home, I look at my toothpaste, armful of swallowed. Please contact the Poison Control Center. I was like, dang it. And, and then I went and looked at my shampoo. The first ingredient was sodium lauryl sulfate. I'm like, oh man. So I just empowered myself. And you might not be able to vote today, and our votes might not count anymore. But guess what? When you vote with your dollars, it does count. We still have some power there. Stop giving your money to these big, huge corporations that don't give a crap about you and your family and our community, and give it to small companies like ours that have a heartbeat, that actually care and have a moral compass. Find companies that are doing good things for you and the environment, and give them your money and let them grow. Now, what'll happen is those big corporations will either change or those go away. Either one's okay. But we can control industry with what we purchase. Stop purchasing this stuff that is toxic, because eventually, you take it in and you breathe it out, and you urinate out and defecate it out, and it goes into the water waste treatment plants. And guess what? They're taking that waste treatment plant stuff, that sludge they used to have to pay to get rid of it. Now they're selling it to farmers as a cheap fertilizer. They renamed it biosolids. So I give you an example. If you're buying vegetables and the PLU sticker or price lookup sticker starts with a 4, most likely you are eating vegetables that were grown in human feces. Now, that's not the worst part. It's the 60,000 toxic plus chemicals that are in that soup. You see? So we have got to get aware of these things, and then just go local, buy fresh, grow your own sprouts, clean your water up, clean up your air, and you should just see what your body will just respond so well when you change that terrain.
And it's either do that or pay for illness.
Yeah, and have a low quality of life and live in fear. And, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't ever want to get operated on again. No offense, surgeons. I'm glad you're there if I get in a car wreck, but I don't ever want to go under the knife again. What if the surgeon had a bad day? You never know.
That's why they have malpractice insurance.
God.
All right. Great talk. Chemicalfreebody.com. This was Tim James. Sorry. You can find and learn more about him and everything he's doing on the Health Hero Show. So we'll put all that in the show notes. Go check out again, chemicalfreebody.com, his podcast, The Health Hero Show. Thanks, Tim.
Oh yeah, Kylie, we forgot. When you guys go to the website at chemicalfreebody.com, there is a free gift. You mentioned that earlier. But if you guys are interested in the products, Kylie and I put together a special discount code. So we have a lot of products. Just go to the product tab if you're interested. Scroll down, and I would go to the savings bundles. That way you can get a discount. We have like a little jumpstart bundle, or I do what's called the total energy and detox bundle. Pick a bundle that works for you. And then at checkout, they can put in the code Dr. Kylie, DRKYLIE, and they get an additional 5% off. So that way you guys can get a double discount, and we have a double your money back guarantee on all of our products.
Nice. Go check it out.
Whether you have a diagnosis or not, I don't care. I'll teach you how to find what's causing your health concerns using the labs you already have. Your doctor might tell you your blood work is normal, but I'm here to teach you a better way. If you're a doctor or a health coach and anything in between, there's one for you too. Download your cheat guides and register here at drkylieburton.com. This podcast is sponsored by Systemic Formulas and Nutribiome. Systemic Formulas, the supplement company I trust with my patients and family. Instead of ordering from a handful of companies, I use 95% SF products. They're top-of-the-line quality with the best lab west of the Mississippi. They're pure, potent, and they get results. In fact, I recommend you follow their Instagram at Systemic Formulas Institute. Also, the man who's behind the Systemic Formulas products, Dr. Shane Morris, is launching a new line of supplements designed to take your microbiome to the next level. He has specific prebiotics designed to feed the probiotics. Learn more and order soon at mybiome.com. mybyome.com.